Kung bago ka pa lang dito sa YouTube channel ko, please like the video and subscribe at i-click ang notification bell. Para mas magiging updated ka sa susunod na i-upload kong mga video. Kris Aquino todo deny sa alahas na isinuot nito at sinabi pang peking alahas lang umano ang isinuot niya sa isang event. Palaisipan ang mga netizen sa sinabing fake diamond na sinabi ni Kris Aquino dahil kilala ito bilang Marty at ayaw ng mga peking gamit. Todo tanggi nga ito sa mga paratang sa kanya na umano'y pagnanakaw nito sa isa sa mamahaling alahas ng dating First Lady Imelda Marcos. Ayon pa nito ay hindi umano siya gumagamit ng hindi sa kanya at hindi siya bastos upang gumamit ng hindi niya pagmamay-ari. Narito ang video at ating panoorin.
That is not my motherland, where I grew up and was born. It's still a question, a big question in the minds and in the hearts not only of the family and myself, but the world in general. Why am I here? I was destined by the good Lord to be born in my country, the Philippines. And the reason for this commitment and obsession for a going home of the Marcoses to the Philippines is not only a matter of human right that I want to do this. It is an obligation, it is a responsibility to God. It is a pursuit of a divine will and divine right to do what is right and to bring him home where he can have eternal rest in his motherland. And this has been a question on the Marcos minds and those who are loyal to the vision, the principles, the goals that we have been committing ourselves and to millions of Filipinos. Why are the Marcoses here? This started some years ago, over 4 years ago, when we had problems, economic problem, because of the ideological difference in the Philippines. The Philippines being a very strategic geographic position where we are very close to the communist, Vietnam, China, Russia, all of this. And our country, being a country that has been exposed to Western civilization, there has been this continuous conflict of ideologies, conflict of the rich and poor, the feudal system of the very rich that was used really by our colonizers to rule the colony. And with all of these divisions of mankind, economic, social, political, religious, there was our problem in Mindanao between the Muslims and the Christians, wherein I had to go to Tripoli to help bring about the ceasefire agreement from Libya. There was a continuous conflict in all levels. And Ferdinand Marcos, being president of that country, in trying to look for a balance of the left and the right, the north and the south, the rich and the poor, and having alienated and having affiliated himself with the free world, now was even misunderstood by the free world in his act while he was trying to balance, and was completely misunderstood. To a point that one day, after he was asked that perhaps it seems that there is a lot of trouble in the Philippines, the immediate problem was you, Marcos, because you're not popular maybe anymore, you are not loved by the people and endorsed by your people. And so even if Ferdinand was elected in 81 to be president for 6 years up to 1987, June, on February on February 86, he accepted the challenge to submit himself to the public and the people. And true enough, he won in that election. He was proclaimed by the duly instituted office, the COMELEC, the Commission on Election.
COMELEC.
He was proclaimed by Parliament, the Batasan Pambansa, the duly instituted body that was to proclaim the winner of the election. And he even took his oath of office as president. And yet, he won in the election, and yet a group of so-called reformists in the military, and then later on succeeded by the Chief of Staff, General Ramos, and the National Defense Minister came in to bring about the coup. The coup was aborted, and Ramos and Enrile were held in a camp in the Philippines. And yes, they said there was people power because Cardinal Sin came in. They just came in to call for people power, but the claim was people power. But you can see now that it was more a media event because it was a focusing of the media to a group of people, not really the amount of people that there was. And so there was, he won in that election, but at the same time, he also was able to abort the coup because they were put there with not so many people. And supposedly helping him then, but there was the military there that could contend with that. And documentary pictures will show this eventually. But what really made us accept to ride in the US Air Force plane, in a helicopter, was when we were being attacked by rockets that did not belong to the Philippine Armed Forces inventory. They were using Philippine planes, seemingly we were being attacked by Filipinos, but in truth and in fact, the arms used there did not belong to the armory of the Republic of the Philippines. And so, even if earlier the chief of the CIA then and Mrs. Reagan was inviting us to the United States, I told Mrs. Reagan, and she was inviting us for security to come to the United States. I said, thank you, madam. I said, but now that my country is in trouble, Ferdinand and I will be the last person to leave our country. But soon afterwards, when we were being attacked by rockets, the president finally and I, seeing my children and grandchildren's life being endangered, we may be ready to give our lives for our country, but the children did not yet have the will. And so we asked the children, my daughter and my son, to leave us and bring the children out, but they would not leave their parents behind in the palace. So finally, we accepted to ride the US helicopter to go to Clark. And when we were in Clark Air Base, which is about 40 minutes by helicopter from the palace to Clark Air Base, and we were there, very soon after we were told if there is where we had to get out of the Clark Air Base because now Clark Air Base was being surrounded by Filipino communists, and we were a danger being there. So the president said, so bring us then to Ilocos Norte, Pauay, my home province.
Pauay.
And so I prepared a plane, and me seeing the plane was quite small, so I was getting already a little suspicious. My woman instinct was saying I was going to feel danger. I looked at the plane, but the plane was small, so I said this cannot go trans-Pacific, and going to the Pacific from Manila to Honolulu alone would be about 10 to 12 hours. So I said, looking at this small plane, I said, this will not bring us out of the country very far. They must be honest bringing us to Ilocos, which is a small plane, which is only about an hour at the most away. True enough, we got into the plane, thinking we'd be brought to Ilocos. 1 hour passed by, 2 hours passed by. Then it's a little, but meanwhile, the president was not too well, so I was very disturbed more about him than the length of this time. But after about 3 hours over, I said, where are we going? This is 3 hours already. And I don't see us landing yet. True enough, it was becoming dawn and we were going down, and I was looking down, and it was an island. It was not an island that looked like any of the islands of the Philippines. I am very knowledgeable, and I am very familiar to our terrain of our country, even from air, because I campaigned in the 7,150 islands of my country. And so as we were going down, he said, the general said, we are going down because we are going down to Guam, because we could not land in Ilocos Norte because there are communists that is ready to attack us. They're waiting for us in Ilocos. So this is terrible. Then I leave. And so the others, history from Guam, it was the president got very sick and he had a high fever. And so I said, just bring us to any place where there is a first-class hospital. And right away, the sooner we get him there, the better. So the thing was to Hawaii. And when we got to Hawaii, we were brought in Hickam Air Base, and we stayed there for over 1 month. And we were in a cottage, half of which was a group of people from the Philippine Embassy and the military, the State Department, that was watching and hovering over us. And the 90+ members of the staff and the family was in the barracks of Hickam. And I remember the president and I used to walk for several meters away at the clubhouse for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But it was a very humiliating time, a very depriving time, because our things, our valuables, had not come in. And it was a very difficult time because we did not even have our things, our personal effects, to the point that even as early as in Guam and in Honolulu, in Hawaii, we had go to PX for things like toothbrush, toothpaste, milk for the children, diapers, and all of this. And we had no money because all of our things were deprived us. And whatever money we had was peso bills. We had no dollar. I did not even have a single dollar because we were of no intent of going anywhere but our country. And to this day, we are still wondering why we are here in the United States. And worse, after 3 weeks, when Ferdinand was starting to be without fever anymore, and he was starting to be stronger, and he was even able to jog a bit, going to back and forth the cottage down to the officers club for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, they started to see that Marcos was getting stronger. After a few weeks at Hikam Air Base here in Hawaii, when the president was starting to gain more vigor and health, and he was no longer with a high fever as when he was taken out of the Philippines, there was a big demand for the Filipino community. We have a big community in Hawaii of Filipinos that wanted to meet with him. And also the media. Finally, those who were taking care of us inside could not resist but have to make us go on a press conference. In that press conference, there was a prepared statement agreed upon by now our the people who was in charge of us, that he would make they would make a separate statement. And as I look back to it, it was made to look like we had fled the country, that we had gone out of our country and not received out of our country. Because it was not our will and our desire to leave the Philippines. And so, but as the president gained more health and vigor, and there was more pressure to know what was going on. So, in the next few days, we were descended upon of suits after suits after suits and after suits, until all of us were sued for one thing or another, from smuggling to criminal acts or whatever, or all kinds of cases, including my grandchildren. I had 4 grandchildren then, and the eldest was the only one who could walk. The 3 could hardly walk. They were so young, and yet they had smuggling cases. And children of our staff, there were 14.
Pati mga staff mo, meron.
So, we were taken out of the Philippines.
We were taken out of the Philippines against our will.
We came to the United States not in a Philippine Air Force plane or our own private plane, which we had 2 even before Marcos became president. We did not ride in our own personal plane. We were taken